This is the Heartfelters podcast, and your host is.
Hi, welcome to Heartfelters.
Like, share, subscribe, share again with your friends.
So it's the Women History Month this March. That's what you're celebrating. I hope that already explains why I'm dressed like women leader today. But aside from that, we're also celebrating dietitians around the world, registered dietitian-nutritionists. We're celebrating them around the world this month. And that's why I'm coming to do a fusion. Okay? A fusion between the women's and dietetics stand. Right. The reason why I've come today is to tell women that it's looking as though we are no longer enough. We are no longer in control. You know, it's amazing how women do not even understand how much control they wield over the world. Like, we don't understand that enough. If only we were able to understand that, then we would know how to maximize it. You know, in the olden days, women used to be the untold doctors of the home, of the house. If a child had, say, a cold or a cough or an injury, a bruise, the first point of call was usually the mother, right? The fathers too, but largely the mother. But these days, we've outsourced our lives so much in the bid to not miss out on all the westernization and globalization that is going on around us. We've outsourced our lives and the lives that we're supposed to carry. And when I mean carry, I mean in every sense. Psychologically, emotionally, health-wise, we've outsourced all of these things to others, right? And how do I mean that? The reason why indigenous knowledge will always trump book knowledge is because it is usually based off of experience that has been tested and trusted and proven, right? So that's one thing the women in the olden times had a lot. They had tried a lot of things, right? They were curious enough to say, okay, if my child comes down with this and this and this, what could I do to help that child? If my child is having this and this and this, what could I do? Women then were curious like that, and they passed down that curiosity down to the women that they raised after them, right? But these days, it is quite it's quite bothersome that women just want to not do so much of the heavy lifting when it comes to the things that matter the most. Women are amazing people. Modern women are amazing people doing a lot of amazing things, shattering glass ceilings and all of that. But when it comes to the things that matter, like family and even self-care, trying to understand how our own bodies work so that we are able to do better by ourselves, that is not so much of what we see these days. Because the mindset is, if I have this issue, I can always book a consultation. I can always buy drugs. I can always do this and that and that and that. But if we will take time to really study, to be as curious as women then, we wouldn't have access to as much things, as much information as we have now. If we would be as curious as them to try to understand our bodies and try to understand how they work, the hospitals will be less crowded, and we'll figure out ways to control our bodies from our pots in the kitchen. I'm not saying we shouldn't embrace luxury and ease and comfort. That's 100% fine, right? Nobody likes stress. But if we are unable to manage what gets into our bodies, and then we just want to go on and on and on about how our bodies are not functioning as they should, now the question would then be, do we even know how the body should actually function? in the first place. Because you wouldn't know how something is not supposed to work if you do not even know how it is supposed to work in the first place, right? So these are the things that women should do more these days. Women should be as curious as the olden women. Modern women should be as curious as the olden women. When the olden women did all their research and findings and experience and all that, they came up with saying that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right? And I would say that that saying is more from the angle that the men were taken by the women who cooked for them, because then food was highly rated, right? People wouldn't eat your food if they didn't trust you. People wouldn't allow you cook for them if they didn't trust your judgment to give them the best form of nutrition, right? And so when it is said, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, it should be understood that perhaps the men were smitten because these women were providing them awesome nutrition that was keeping them in the best shape and form. And so for this Women History Month, I am encouraging all women to try to go back to their roots. Okay, try to go back to your roots as much as possible. Try to understand why your mom used the aging fruit. Locally, it's called uhiokriyo in Igbo language, or prekese, right? I think it's Yoruba. So try to understand why they use things like that. Why they use ogiri, okpei, iru. Why they did not always. It beats me when I see recipes for most local soups, and the first thing I see is pour the palm oil, fry the egusi, fry the this. So we cannot cook without frying everything again. As much as we say that we're trying to fight undernutrition as a form of malnutrition, these days the burden of malnutrition is on the rise in hidden hunger. So many women are micronutrient deficient without even knowing it. And disease begins in the gut. So please, my dear women, let's try to support other women that want to go back to their roots. Let's not make them feel like they are too traditional. I mean, being traditional should be cool. You shouldn't make it seem like traditional women are outcast from the modern world. No, let's support one another to go back to our roots, find out what was working then, what was keeping them in tip-top shape then, what was the reason why, even though they didn't have so much access to healthcare, they were still able to be in the best shape as concerns their health, right? I mean, these women, most of them don't go to school yet. They were practicing midwives, right? I mean, most women were practicing nutritionists in their homes, right? They were practicing many of our present-day medical fields, but they didn't have book knowledge. So it's Women History Month. It is the month to celebrate Registered Dietitian-Nutritionists, and I just hope that more women are able to take back control, because yes, we actually run the world, whether we agree or not, whether we are rising to fill those shoes as much as we should or not, but that is the fact as it is. We actually run the world, and I hope that we wear that with grace and do it so much more that we are going to discover the power of nutrition one plate at a time. And that's it for today's episode. It was amazing having you all today. Watch all our previous episodes that you've missed. You're going to learn a thing or two from them. Also, like, share, subscribe, share it with other women, whether they're your friends, your enemies, your neighbors, your whatever it is they are, or in the spirit of sisterhood. Share with other women, share with men that have women in their lives, as sisters, as mothers. Let's do better.